The untold story of the Catholic Church, what they never told you.
You've heard the story before.
The Catholic Church began with Peter, the apostle of Jesus. He was the rock, the chosen one, the first pope. But what if I told you that the real story is far more complex? What if the foundation of the Church wasn't built in a single moment of divine clarity, but through centuries of conflict, ambition, and strategic decisions? And what if some of these decisions weren't just about faith, but about power? Have you ever wondered why the Catholic Church became the most powerful religious institution in the world? Or why certain books made it into the Bible while others disappeared? What if Christianity could have taken a completely different path?
Let's go back to the beginning.
A group of ordinary men, fishermen, tax collectors, outcasts, found themselves following a teacher who spoke of a kingdom not of this world. They had no temples, no wealth, no political influence, just a message that defied everything Rome stood for. Then, Jesus was crucified. His followers, now hunted and scattered, met in secret, trying to make sense of what had happened. This wasn't an organized movement. It wasn't a church in the way we think of today. It was survival. But here's the real question. If Christianity started as a persecuted movement, how did it become the dominant religion of an empire that once tried to destroy it? This is where things get interesting. Was Peter really the first pope? For centuries, we've been told that Jesus appointed Peter as the head of his church. The words are famous. Upon this rock, I will build my church. But what did Jesus really mean? Did he mean a physical institution? Did he mean Peter himself? Or was he talking about something else entirely? Here's what most people don't realize.
The Bible never mentions Peter as a pope.
In fact, it never mentions the Catholic Church at all. The word Catholic, which means universal, didn't appear until decades after the apostles were gone. It was Ignatius of Antioch, around the year 107 AD, who first used the term. So if Peter never called himself a pope, and the apostles never called their movement Catholic, where did the church really come from? And more importantly, who truly built it?
The answer will shock you.
A struggle for power.
The early Christians weren't united.
There were deep disagreements. Different groups had different ideas about who Jesus was, what he taught, and how his message should be spread. And some of these ideas were radically different from what we believe today. Did you know that some early Christians believed in a different God from the one we know? The Gnostics, for example, believed that the God of the Old Testament was an inferior, tyrannical being. They thought secret knowledge, not blind faith, was the key to salvation. What would have happened if their beliefs had won? Would Christianity still exist as we know it? Or would it be something completely different? But here's the twist. Their teachings didn't just disappear. They were erased. By who? And why?
Constantine, the man who changed Christianity forever.
At this time, Christianity was still a persecuted religion.
Enter Constantine the Great, the most powerful man in the world.
But don't be fooled. Constantine didn't convert to Christianity out of pure faith. He was a strategist. He saw that Christianity, despite its divisions, was growing rapidly. And he realized something. If he could control this movement, he could control the empire. But here's something to think about. Did Constantine really believe in Christianity? Or did he just use it as a tool? In 313 AD, he issued the Edict of Milan, which legalized Christianity.
No more hiding. No more persecution.
For the first time, Christians had protection. But there was a price. Christianity was no longer just a faith. It was becoming a tool of the empire. And like any tool of power, it had to be controlled. At the Council of Nicaea, Constantine called together Christian leaders and told them to settle their differences. What they decided would shape Christianity forever. But think about this. Why would a Roman emperor care about Christian doctrine? Why did a man who once worshipped pagan gods suddenly want to define who Jesus was? What was really happening behind the closed doors of that council?
The battle over the Bible.
Did you know that the Bible as we know it didn't exist in the early centuries of Christianity? There were dozens of Gospels, letters, and writings. Some of them told completely different stories about Jesus. So who decided which books would be included and which would be banned? The answer isn't as simple as God guided them. It was a battle. Christian leaders gathered to decide what would be the official word of God. And the writings that didn't fit, many were destroyed.
Now, ask yourself,
What if those lost books contained secrets about Jesus we were never meant to know? What if the real story of Christianity is still hidden in those forgotten pages? The church rises to power. By the 4th century, Christianity was no longer a persecuted movement. It was becoming a political empire. Over the next few centuries, popes would rise to power, ruling not just over churches, but over kings and nations. The church would decide who was righteous and who was a heretic. Wars would be fought in its name. People would die for questioning its teachings. But here's a question no one asks. If the early Christians were persecuted for their faith, why did they later become the persecutors? Did power corrupt the very institution that was built on Jesus' message of love and humility? What does this mean for us today? This is not a criticism of faith. It's an invitation to think. How much of what we believe today is truly from Jesus? And how much was shaped by politics, power, and centuries of human ambition? What if the real teachings of Jesus were far simpler? What if his message wasn't about building an empire, but about something much more personal? And here's the biggest question of all. If Jesus returned today, would he recognize the church that claims to follow him?
this is just the beginning.
There are more secrets buried in history. Are you ready to uncover them? Make sure to subscribe to our channel for more stories like this. Thank you.